My mother tried her best to immerse her children in the gospel. Most Sundays, there is no question where we would be. The McCaulleys would be safely ensconced in our pew at Union Hill Primitive Baptist Church in Huntsville, Alabama, from 10 a.m. until the Spirit finished His work. There was, however, always a chance that my mother would be too tired from working at the Chrysler factory to drag her 4 unruly children to the house of the Lord. To encourage this fatigue to do its work, we would stay in our rooms as quiet as church mice, hoping not to rouse her from her slumber. The signal that our plan had failed was the sound of Mahalia Jackson on the radio. Once Mahalia started in on Amazing Grace, the jig was up. Our home knew gospel music. In addition to Mahalia, we received a steady stream of Shirley Caesar, telling us to hold her mule, and James Cleveland reminded us that he didn't feel no ways tired. Gospel music filled our home and shaped our imaginations, even when we rebelled against it. The second witness continually brought to bear on the hopes and dreams of her 4 children was the large King James Bible that lived on a shelf in the living room. The King functioned more like a talisman than a book to be read. Whenever my mother wanted to wring the truth out of us, she would have us place our hands on the KJV and declare that we had told her the truth. Only the most brazen of sinners among us would dare speak falsehood in the presence of Mom, Jesus, and King James. We also watched Christian cartoons, Superbook, and went to midweek Bible studies and as many vacation Bible schools as we could manage. The scriptures were everywhere. But I was also a child of my environment. I was a Southern black boy from Alabama, in love with hip-hop. As soon as my mother pressed pause on Mahalia, I pressed play on Southern hip-hop, Outkast, Goody Mob, and the bass coming out of Atlanta boomed in the Delta 88 that I drove to and from the schools and parties of Northwest Huntsville. That music also helped me interpret the world that seemed to have its foot on the neck of black and brown bodies in my city. Put simply, I knew the Lord and the culture, both engaged in an endless battle for my affections. I loved hip-hop because sometimes it felt as if only rappers truly understood what it was like to experience the heady mix of danger, drama, and temptation that marked black life in the South. They spoke of the drugs, the violence, the encounters with the police, and even God. They did not so much offer solutions, as much as they reflected on the life forced on them. But I also love my mother's gospel music because it filled me with hope, and it connected me to something old and immovable. If hip-hop tended towards nihilism and utilitarian ethics, the game is the game, so we do what we must to survive, then my mother's music, rooted in biblical texts and ideas, offered a vision of something bigger and wider. The struggle I speak of is not merely between 2 genres of music. I'm speaking of the struggle between black nihilism and black hope. I'm speaking of the ways in which the Christian tradition fights for and makes room for hope in a world that tempts us towards despair. I contend that a key element in this fight for hope in our community has been the practice of Bible reading and interpretation coming out of the Black church, what I am calling Black ecclesial interpretation.